And bonjour, Darko.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour, mon ami. We said at some point we're going to do it in French, but not today. I'm here in San Francisco, California. And Darko, where are you, sir?
I'm here in Nikšić, Montenegro.
So we have the Darko and Bruno show. We talk about AI and we talk about biostatistics. Today, we won't talk about biostatistics. We'll just talk about AI and we talk about our prediction, the Darko and Bruno prediction for 2026. That's going to be the topic. So the idea that we had is that Darko is going to make a prediction. I'm going to see if I agree or disagree. We don't know where we're going to go yet. It's going to be a little bit of random walk, actually. I make a prediction. Darko is going to tell us if he agrees or disagrees. Now, what I think is we're going to try to have unconventional prediction, right? Go at risk. And so we're going to see if we can have time for 3 or 5 predictions. So you're going to do the first one, and then I'm going to do the second prediction, right? And the audience, if you have your own prediction, or if you want Darko or Bruno's opinion on this prediction, post it on social media, on a comment, and we'll get to it, right? Like and subscribe and comment. We appreciate your engagement. All right, so Darko, what's your number one prediction? Maybe one that people don't expect, or maybe one that people expect in AI for 2026.
Yeah, well, this prediction is probably going to go against the general wisdom, but I'd really like to hear what you think. So my prediction is that 2026 is going to be the year of the world models. So I'm kind of taking the angle of one of our favorite Frenchmen, Jean LeCun, that, world models will be the next big thing. I mean, what's happening with the LLMs is, yes, they're getting better. They will probably continue to get better, but eventually we're going to have to try to add some new things like the world models, where, the AI can think in a similar way like us, have their own, maybe not consciousness yet, but have the world model, the dynamics of understanding what's happening in AI. And I think that could be that slow step, that small step towards AGI. So I think companies that actually build in this field, that build world models, will actually gain the advantage. Now, I'm not sure which companies will really go for that. I'm sure Jan LeCun's will, but that's my number one. What do you think?
I agree on the topic and disagree on the timing. So I agree that building world model, whether it's the Jan LeCun way or the Jan or whatever the way, back to research, right? Yeah, India said back to research, right? LLM have reached their course, more compute, more data doesn't cut it, so there's no data left. And synthetic data is not so good, in my opinion. It's very derivative data. So India said, okay, back to research. And you've seen all the memes, right? About back to research. So yes, we're back in research. And the core of back to research, I think you're right, is some kind of world model. Now, whether the world model of our favorite Frenchman, not me, but Jan LeCun, is right, I love to listen to him. He's an academic guy. He's a research guy. He's a long-term guy. Yeah, he's going to work on his world model in 2026. I don't think he built anybody's expectation that he'd have anything to show for it in 2026. So yes, the team will be there. I don't think the result will be there in 2026. So that's why I'm putting a little twist to your prediction. But I agree with you that the next step is not going to be more reasoning. I mean, it's going to be more reasoning, but that's not new, right? Better reasoning, more reasoning, etc. The age of reason, the age of world model, yes. So I agree with your prediction. Even if the timing of the results, I think it's going to be way down the road. By then, OpenAI, they'll be winner already. Okay, here's what I would say. That's not the way the race is going to be won. And what I mean by that is that by the time world model deliver, one of the frontiers model will have won the race. So, and they're going to acquire Yan's company or Ilya's company. I think they're too late to become the winner of AI, right? The Amazon.com or the Google of AI. It's going to take too long. By then, the winner will already be there based on LLM.
Okay,
That's
so
my prediction on top of your prediction.
well, I think that's fair. I mean, we disagree on the timeline, but at least we disagree. We agree on the topic. So yeah, I mean, what's your main
Right.
prediction?
So
What
here's
do
my
you think?
prediction.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to be the year of agentic, but everybody say that it's boring. We know that, and 25 was already the year of agentic. So I don't want to pick agentic. The number two prediction, in my opinion, is that 2026 is going to be the age of memory. Memory.
Oh.
Of course, people hesitated about building too much memory because of privacy. Privacy. We don't really want privacy. I don't want privacy. I want you as my model to remember what I told you yesterday. I want you to remember my preference. I want you to remember the brainstorming we did yesterday on that topic. Memory. Forget memory. All right. And I think that I think Sam Altman knows that. He mentioned that all the time on his podcast. I think that people will not accept an AI that has a memory of goldfish, which is what it currently has. They all have terrible memory. Grok even is completely amnesic. They refuse to have any memory. That's not going to be acceptable. Elon is going to have to change its mind. It's going to be, my prediction is that memory is a killer app, underestimated because of compliance concern. Right? They don't want to raise compliance concern, so they don't talk about it, and they go very timidly towards memory. Memory to me is a killer feature of my AI. I want the app to remember every conversation I ever had. Forget privacy. I want it to remember all my preference. Of course, I want them. Sometimes I want to be able to switch off the memory, so I have an unfiltered view. So it needs to be switchable. But by default, extreme memory is a feature I really want for Christmas. So 2026 is going to be, in my opinion, the year of memory.
Okay, well, I might have a slight pushback there, even though I think it's an interesting topic. Yeah, I mean, when you think about AI and agents right now, they're actually so bad that they're actually terrible in memory, and that's one of the biggest flaws that everyone who's using AI is. We can just see it. You know, it's so visible. But I think there is maybe one obstacle towards going for advanced memory in 2026, which is that, you know, when you think about how we store memory currently and what we have right now, it's basically either RAG or just basic text storage of our conversations with AI. And comparing that to the human memory, which is much more complex, right? Where we have physical interactions with the world. We have the visual memory, the audio memory, the sensory memory. And the most interesting part, we don't even know where the memory is stored. I constantly ask neurobiologists to tell me, hey, can you tell me where is the memory stored in our brain? Well, their answer is usually like, yeah, there are these connections between neurons and these architectures, and that's the memory. I don't buy it. You know, if you can't take the memory and copy it and transfer it from one place to another, from one brain to another, you really have no idea where the memory is. It's like with genetic information, we know exactly where it is. It's in the DNA, right? So we can transfer genetic information from one cell to another. We can't do the same with memory. So I think memory will require more complexity in understanding how our own brain works. And, you know, when you mention like, okay, movie Blade Runner, I immediately have an image of that movie, of the actors, of, you know, that beautiful city. So it's like a very complex system that works so automatically and flexibly. I think that's going to be a problem for the AI memory eventually, because what can we do with the memory right now? Well, we can store it in a database. We can store it, I don't know, in Neo4j. We can store it in like a JSON, text, whatever. But we didn't really do research that Ilya is talking about that can really bring us there. However, I do think that memory is probably one of the most important items in AI. It's actually so terrible right now. You know, you and I, we had the chance to talk with Ava, your AI assistant, and you know, sometimes she struggles to figure out. I mean, even though it sounds sci-fi, fantastic, but we actually saw this, that Ava is actually struggling to figure out, hey, is she talking to me or is she talking to you, right? So she needs to have
Yeah,
a
she doesn't
very,
recognize voice. Yeah, actually, voice. Knowing who is talking is going to recognize my voice, like I think Alexa does that or Siri does that. Is going to be important. It's going to be important too. I would argue, and then I'm going to ask you for your next prediction. By the way, I would argue that memory is the mode. Memory is a mode, because if I spend 2 years trading ChatGPT about my preference and the project I'm working on, I don't want to have to repeat that to Grok, even if Grok is now smarter. I'm not going to want to. And I don't see a world where ChatGPT is going to make its memory portable to a competing frontier model. So it's a little bit like the same stickiness as social media. If you create a persona, a series of followers, a content base in one social media, moving all of that to another social media is like separating Siamese twin in an impossible surgery. You don't do it. So that's why social media can be so incredibly sticky. That's why even if everybody or so many people hated Elon, they would not leave easily X, right? So I think that memory is going to be the moat. I think that's how ChatGPT is going to win. ChatGPT or Gemini, probably not Anthropic. And I don't know about Grok, because and that's a different conversation. But let me turn to you. What is the third prediction? And Shahir, check for listening, then we can write a little article, Shahir, with the 5 predictions from Darko and Bruno and post it on Substack maybe. So what's your third prediction?
yeah, well, my third prediction is that we're slowly going to move away from the LLMs as the main technology. So I think LLMs will become just a part of the system, like a small part of the mechanism, which is there for language comprehension and maybe generation of text. However, we've seen the weaknesses of LLMs. We just need something else. The real intelligence in AI will come from something else. It will not come from LLMs. And I actually think that it will come from maybe a combination of memory and reinforcement learning, right? So because that's how our brain works, right? Really, like if you think about our brain, it's like 70 to 80% of the importance goes just to memory, storing and comparing and processing memories. So yeah, I kind of agree there. But I think the main item maybe that will unfold in 2026 is people just figuring out, yes, they're doing this race, they're racing against each other to get more customers, to get like 500 million customers, 1 billion customers, I don't know. But that's not the way to win on the long run. You know, that's like a short-term win to justify all the money that's coming in. But the long run, the actual preparation for win of those companies, and I think Claude, Anthropic, you know, they have been very smart so far. They specialize their models, so they may actually, in my opinion, join the race somewhere at, maybe not at the pole position. I still think OpenAI is at the pole position, but I think they're being yeah, please go ahead.
Let's make prediction of who wins the next one. But regarding the the limits of LLM, which is the third prediction. You're saying LLM are going to clearly show that they're plateauing. I'm trying reframing what you said about the third prediction. I agree. And so many people have said that, right? Jan LeCun said that forever, and everybody made fun of him as an old grumpy boomer. All right. Then Ilya said that, and then everybody said, "Oh, look, Ilya is so smart." When they were making fun of Jan before, there's a meme on that, by the way. I don't know if you saw that meme.
Yeah, I did.
So, I agree with that, and the reason for me is data. So that once you train on the internet, I don't believe in synthetic data. I really don't. I think it's completely overrated. Our synthetic data can help. So essentially, we capped on one of the three pillars of the current success. The three pillars being, data, compute, and algorithm. But algorithm cannot get so much smarter. They can a little bit. Compute can continue to go high. We can continue to add compute the other, but data is finite. And once you train on the internet, so that's a rate limiting element for me. And now it seems everybody kind of agree. They still do a little dance around private data. Forget that. There's not that private data. It's very hard to reach, and it's small. And synthetic data, I think, is completely oversold and misunderstood. So I think the data wall is what makes that third prediction correct. And I think at the end of 2026, everybody would agree. And actually, it's going to be clear because the LLM curve are S-ing. They're becoming an S curve. The plateau is clearly not the kind of momentum you had. It's clearly plateauing. We already can see it, right? And at the end of 2026, it will be obvious. Nobody can disagree with that. I agree with your prediction, right? So my third prediction is who is going to fail and who will be succeeding, right? I would argue that perplexity is going to fail. Sorry for you or others who love perplexity, maybe. And I would argue that perplexity is going to fail, that Anthropic is not going to win. It doesn't mean they're going to fail, but they're not going to win. And that Grok is going to come back, and that Llama is going to come back. So it's 4 prediction in one, right? In the race, in the horse race, in the Coke versus Pepsi race. And so the winner, to me, the clear winner, is going to be, as much as I love Elon Musk and Grok, I think that it's going to be very hard for Anthropic, impossible for Perplexity, and a long shot for Grok to win. I think at this point, the two winners is Gemini and ChatGPT and OpenAI, with a slight benefit, unfortunately, for Gemini, right? Unfortunately, I think Gemini in 26 is gonna put OpenAI on the defensive again and again and again and again, because they got the mojo back. They're not gonna let that go. They have an amazing distribution. They have more money, unlimited money, compared with OpenAI. And so I predict that OpenAI is going to be on the defensive the whole year.
Well, I maybe slightly disagree there. I think, especially on Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, I think, we are seeing, at least what's publicly available on the media, that Mark Zuckerberg has been hiring so many professionals. I think paying them some ridiculously high sums of money, like, I don't know, $100 million or $200 million to join. So he actually spent a huge amount of money to, avoid being left behind by OpenAI and Gemini, which is what is happening right now. But I think Mark has been working very hard to just, at one point, probably in 2026, jump out, jump out from being left behind, and or suddenly show up, maybe even at the top spot. We should not forget that Jan LeCun was there, and they are working on world models right now. So even if Jan LeCun leaves and forms his company, they have a very strong AI team. So I think Facebook may actually join the race. And I mean, I do agree with you that ChatGPT, and Gemini, they kind of hold the pole position right now with the infrastructure they have, with the scientists they have, especially Google. They have like, they control like majority of the internet, if you think about it. So I mean, that's a big advantage for them. However, another place where I kind of may have a slightly different angle is that someone may actually join the race that people are not even talking about right now. You have a company like Poetic. I think it's a French name actually for poetry or something, but this is more like AI, which is virtually founded by, I don't know, 5, 6 people, and they made AI system that is not based just on LLMs. They're going outside the LLMs, and
Just, yeah, just to be provocative, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your support of the French and European companies. Let me be a little abrupt, and then we need to close the podcast. I need to be, but it's actually a genuine view about it. Darko, we have zero chance. Mistral, zero chance. Poetic, zero chance. First, they're too small, too little, they cannot raise money. And second, Europe makes it so difficult to do anything. I promised my mom I won't talk about politics, but between the regulation and the lack of money and the culture, I think they have zero chance. I think Europe has zero chance in AI. And I'm just being a little abrupt here.
Well, we will see. We will see. It's actually not that far, so we will see which predictions are correct. But I don't know. I strongly believe Mark Zuckerberg is going to join the fight. He's actually a
Okay.
UFC fighter. He has a fighter. He has a fight spirit, so he's going to join the fight. I think, at least in the
Okay,
sense
I
of developing AI.
I agree. I agree that it's going to be in the race and it's going to become a back legitimate. Uh, uh, but maybe the last one of the frontier model. So we'll end up with 5 serious contenders, and the last one is going to be Zuckerberg's. But we'll see. We don't know. It's a prediction. So on that note, merci, mon ami. Thank you, and au revoir, and see you next week.
Merci, bon monsieur, and thank you so much. Au revoir.